Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers midweek podcast. We are live. It's a day off, as usual, for the Wednesday crew, so we thought we would join you. We were going to talk about banners and boardrooms and things, but on that, Dave King has spoken this morning to Talksport, and we will go into that and delve into that. Kenny, good afternoon. How are you, mate?
Not bad, buddy. Been a busy day so far. Just sat down, straight onto it. So, yeah, looking forward to this, actually.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining me because, to be fair, you have got a lot going on. Kenny, before we get into the takeover stuff and just while we wait for everybody to join us online and stuff like that, you had some choice words to say on Monday night with regards to banners, with regards to the running of this club. Do you want to just give us a kind of synopsis of what you say, and then I'm going to come in because I've not spoken since this. I done obviously the catch up on Sunday afternoon after the game, but it wasn't at the forefront at that moment. So before we get into Dave King stuff, give us a wee bit of a synopsis of what you said on Monday night.
What I said basically, mate, was that I am sick and tired of Rangers being a political football, and the fact that our board really doesn't do anything about it. It just allows it to happen. Now, this goes way back to probably the last few years of David Murray's tenure, if you think about it, Stevie, that it was absolute free rein to stick the boot into us at any point, and it's never changed. And doesn't matter who the chairman is or who the CEO is, criticism comes Rangers' way for anything and everything. And I personally feel that the likes of the Tifo at the weekend there. Now, is it a little bit naughty? Maybe. Is there a play on words there? Yeah. Is it clever? Yeah. But for the board to come out immediately, I mean, I got the feeling that statement had almost been, somebody had said during the game, say something about that immediately after the game. And I find that unacceptable, Stevie, that what I keep noticing about Rangers as a football club is you have a customer base, you have a loyal, hardcore customer base, Stevie, and our owners, our investors, our board have this consistent habit of just putting the boot in and criticising, while they'll never ever criticise anybody else. And I find that at this point now, Stevie, the sooner these guys go, the better. And I just found that really almost to the point where it's a kind of, who do you think you are to sit there and consistently criticise your own support? Now, criticism is due for a bottle throwing or certain banners in certain games, or anything that's untoward or illegal that's happening in your football ground. There was nothing illegal happened at the weekend in terms of that Tifo, and they had no right to preempt and almost, add fuel to the fire of the media furore. Now, as I say, I'm going to go back to what I said. Rangers are a political football. If there's anybody that's not allowed to do anything in Scottish football, it's Rangers and its supporters. And the media will come firing in. The politicians will come firing in. I mean, we even had the situation on Monday where the police had already announced that there was no criminality. That was the end of it. The investigation was finished. And that was somewhere about 4 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, you've got the news on STV still leading with this. And a lot of this is down to, personally, what Rangers as a football club do. And do to their own. And I'm kind of sick of it. It's high time that the people that run our football clubs understand their traditions, understand their own support, their own customers, and actually actively encourage instead of discouraging all the time. Now, I could go on and on and on about this, but we've got something else to talk about, and I just wanted to kind of synopsis this for you so that you can have your say, because this isn't a case of, and I've seen a few people say this, Stevie, this isn't a case of there's anything wrong with the TIFO. It's a simple fact of who's put the TIFO up. And for the likes of the BBC to black it out or mask it is nothing short of disgraceful. But what we've had to endure, the ultras across the city portray us as monkeys, portray us as zombies, glorify murderers and terrorists on an almost constant basis. And the media and politicians say nothing. There's no criminality in Sunday at all, nothing. And they're all over this like a rash. And Rangers don't help themselves as a football club. And it's high time. And what I will say about this then, what I'm going to say about it, is that the 49ers, I'm sure, have done some kind of sociological due diligence, and they'll understand what they're getting into. But they really do have to understand here and now that what they have is a situation where the San Francisco 49ers is a one club city, if you like. Leeds are in a one club city, Leeds United. Rangers aren't. There's a massive, supposedly the fiercest rivalry or one of the fiercest rivalries in world football. And they're going to have to accept and understand the nuances of that. And for me personally, I've always felt that this board, and I'm going to talk about Dave King, but ever since Dave King's left, as chairman, everybody's just had free rein to kick us in the nuts whenever they feel like it, mate. And I'm just kind of sick of it. And to me personally, the weekend was kind of the final straw for me with this board. I don't understand what they think they're doing, and I don't really get who they think they are to do this to their own. And it's high time they understood that. Is my take on it, Stevie.
So this is the first time I've said anything about this, because when Andrew and I, obviously when I did the match day vlog, didn't think anything of it. When Andrew and I spoke about it on Sunday afternoon, didn't think anything of it at all. I'm really disappointed in Rangers' handling of it. I think they two-footed and it wasn't needed. By all means, absolutely 100% go after the bottle thrower, because that's disgusting. Shouldn't happen at our football club. And no matter how many times that we have to say it, it doesn't belong in Ibrox. It doesn't belong in any football ground. Stop throwing things at players. Stop throwing things on the pitch. Has to stop. If you're doing that and then you get caught, you should expect a life ban, because that's the way it is. On the subject of the TIFO, myself personally, I would simply have got in touch with the group that organised it, which we now know are the Union Bears, because they've come out proudly and said that. I would have asked them what their words meant. I would have asked them what they meant by it. And then I would have simply sat and waited. And had the media and things come after them for it, then I believe that they could have easily had a statement saying that we have spoken to the group. We understand that it was a play on words with regards to the particular date and time. And we have cautioned them on the manner of wording it. Say whatever you want to say. That would have been the end of it. They almost, by releasing that statement on Sunday evening, I feel like they almost engineered their own downfall, because they set themselves up for an absolute chasing, basically, off the media and off everybody else. I find it flabbergasting, and I'll keep my own political views to myself, but the First Minister coming out and speaking on it, I thought was absolutely ridiculous, when they're quiet at absolutely everything else. And don't forget, this football club, as Kenny, you rightly said, has put up with a lot. We've had effigies of our fans being hung from stadiums, and there's not a word said anywhere. So as a football club, I just think we need to be smarter. Our priority should always be our supporters. It shouldn't be appeasing anybody else. And I felt like that's what we were trying to do. Just before anybody says anything about this banner, just we'll say it's bad first. So absolutely no need at all. Rangers Football Club, first and foremost, should be about their supporters. And as you said, it was clever, a play on words, but it was naughty. It was a wee bit naughty, and we all know that. It was a wee bit ill-advised, perhaps. but it doesn't warrant the outcry of this at the moment. It was clever, it was smart the way they did it. But Rangers themselves, I think it was a complete own goal, the reaction to it. So I would like in the future just for us to stop and think before we throw our own under the bus, and just think about it a wee bit before. So that's been said, Kenny. 1,200 people watching this because of Dave King's interview this afternoon on Talksport. The major outcome of this, or the headlines of it is, excuse me, the takeover is 90% done with mid-June completion. First of all, those that are watching, Kenny and I, who have watched us for several weeks, will know that has been our message, and we've said that all along. We've not come out and said 90%. We've certainly said mid-June, end of May, mid-June, I think was where I put it. And at this point, I'd like to really champion Chris Jack, whose work on this has been absolutely spot on from word go. There's others who've been saying end April and things like that. That was never likely. Chris has been spot on since the very word go. Everybody will know that I work very closely with Chris at Rangers Review and on various stories, and he's ultimately led this superbly well. And it's great that Chris trusts me enough that he steers me in the right direction as well. So when you're hearing me talk about mid-June or where it is, and Kenny, we've talked about 90% done before in terms of it's illegal stuff that's getting over now. It's nice that when Dave comes out and speaks, he more or less backs up everything we've said. Or should I say that Chris has reported?
Yeah, and I think the wording was it's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's or something like that. And it is. And, you know, if we've went with you on this and you've went with Chris on this, if you like, in terms of the time frame and things like that. And you're absolutely right. Chris has been absolutely outstanding. He's your go-to for this. There is no one else that you want to go anywhere near to read and listen to about this takeover, because he has been absolutely spot on from the get-go. He's led the way from the very first interviews with Dave King, way back, I think it was at the turn of the year, right through to now. Everything he said has been absolutely spot on, and fair play to the guy. What I would think, you know, in terms of what Dave King has said today, all he's done is reiterate what Chris has said, you know, in a lot of ways, in terms of saying he doesn't think May's likely now because there is still legal, you know, dealings to be had. And if you stop and think about it, with the amount of different shareholders involved in selling shares, the amount of different countries that they're coming from, Stevie, and there'll be rules and regulations that are different everywhere. So they'll have to deal with that, and that will absolutely take that time. And that, if anything, if people feel it's being held up, that will be the reason for it. That the different legalities in different countries will be causing a slight delay in getting things moving as fast as us fans would like it to happen. But I've got to say, I was quite impressed with a lot of what Dave King said today. Very interesting, some of the things that he kind of revealed and we'll come to. But as I say, that's the kind of bottom line for me, having watched the 10-minute interview, whatever it was, with Dave King today, was that all he's actually done is reiterated most of what Chris himself has actually said. So outstanding job from Chris Jack. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I've kind of noted down a wee bit of the main notes. What King says, takeover discussions have been going on now for some time. About 6 months ago was the first time I chatted to Andrew Kavanagh to see if there was a basis for getting a deal done that would work for both parties. Previously, just to that statement, he had actually mentioned that Paul Murray was the one that had put Dave in contact with Andrew Kavanagh. So that was really interesting, really good of Paul Murray. Along the way, as with any negotiations like these, there were times when it was touch and go. But if you ask me where we are in terms of legals being signed and terms and conditions precedent, that still has to be fulfilled. I would put it at about 90% right now. There are still a few things to be done, conditions, approvals from various leagues, the SFA, the SPFL. There are still some conditions pressing to get the deal across the line. They will have to hit the ground running quite quickly. We have Champions League qualifiers coming up. Let's say this deal happens realistically mid-June. I think May not possible. Let's say mid-June is realistic when they are sitting down in the hot seat. That doesn't give them a lot of time to start and get some business done and prepare us for Champions League qualifiers. As far as the actual manager and who they're looking at, I have no idea. Right, on that, I'm going to say again that that's a kind of bog standard answer, I think, from Dave King with regards to the manager, with regards to not giving herself a lot of time. Andrew Kavanagh put in Greta Steinson to oversee the football job, which he's doing. Officially or unofficially, you can take that. Kevin Thelwell was appointed by them. They're working on a new manager. They are working on who's coming in. They're working on signings. We are working through everything. So the takeover might be mid-June. That doesn't mean a new manager, players or anything will necessarily be mid-June. That was something I said a couple of weeks ago and I stand by it. I don't believe that takeover being officially done will stop this football club appointing a manager or moving forward in any way. Kenny, that's Dave King's words. He talks about 90%. He talks about mid-June. It's probably, as I said, I don't have any worries about waiting until then until managers and things come in.
No, it's clear as day that they are running the place already, isn't it? Really, that they are, in terms of major decision making. As you say, Greta Steinson is overseeing the football side of things, and you've got to turn around and say that if you've got a sporting director in already, that will be his kind of remit, is to get the manager. He'll work with Greta Steinson in doing that, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's already quite far down the line, Stevie. That's what I would say. And on regard, as you say, it's a kind of almost like a token answer, isn't it? That they don't have a lot of time, but Dave King will know as well as you do, or whatever you want to put it, that they are effectively in control already. It's just a case of those legal things being done. And I just feel that we'll come to it as well, but it was the way he was talking about what he had asked of them that really got my ears pricking up, if you like. And I just think that at the end of the day, we've got a scenario where we don't particularly want to panic, if you know what I mean, because the time scale is in reality it seems really short. If it's middle of June and you qualifiers the middle of July, that's not leaving a lot of time, and that's why it is quite clear, if you look at it, that they're already very much in control. And even things like players and things like that, Steve, they'll be quite far down the line, I would imagine, and who they want to get, and talking to people and talking to agents and stuff, I would imagine. So I've got no concerns about it whatsoever.
No, neither do I. What I want to do, Kenny, just for a second, is welcome new member, Ewan Minton, who signed up for the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate it. To become a new member, just follow the link in the description. Really, really appreciate it. Good afternoon, Francis, as well. Everybody joining in. Let's talk a wee bit more about what Dave King said. Talks a wee bit about Paul Murray, and then he says, before he put me in touch, he then put me in touch with Andrew Kavanagh. We chatted, had a couple of initial meetings, and I asked him the one question, which is when a lot of these things fall apart: can you give me proof of funds? Before I take this forward, engage with other shareholders and board members, can you give me proof of funds that you have the cash to not only buy out the existing weak shareholders we'd like to get out, but also enough to put new money into the club? It was only after then they satisfied me through their bankers. I'm not going to disclose the figure, but the amount of money was very, very substantial. It was the amount of money I thought was needed not only to get the deal done, but to fund the club for the next 2 years and to bridge what I see will be a gap between us and our competition in the moment. Once he provided the proof of funds, we then started serious negotiations with other shareholders and directors to see if they could package something that would allow them to come in and take control. This is really, really key. People might remember back in mid-September when Dave King came out with a statement and wanted to take over as chairman. The figure that at the time that he alluded to, which was needed at that point, was £50 million. That's documented. That's out there. That's Dave King's words, Kenny. If Dave King has asked this group not only for money to take over, but also money above and beyond that, and he's already come out and said it was £50 million needed. 2 and 2 put together maybe, but can we assume that the sort of figures that he's went to them and said, after you buy this football club, after the share issue, everything, this football club needs £50 million on the park? That's the kind of money he's talking about. Is it fair to say then that he wouldn't disclose it today, but he's already publicly said that? Are we right to assume that those figures might marry up and might be similar?
Yeah, I think you are. And there is a gap there. There's a gap clearly in terms of us and Celtic. And that financial gap, first and foremost, needs closed. It's what we do with that money that should narrow the gap, hopefully, between the two football clubs. And the way he said it, I actually took exactly what you said from it as well, that when you consider that they're going to pump an X or Y amount to buy the shares, and then there is a serious amount of investment. And I don't know if you're going to come to this, but what he said is that they will get this amount. They've proven the proof of, they've shown the proof of funds, and there will be a share issue or a rights issue that will pump in even more. And it's manna from heaven for me. It's music to my ears, all these cliches, right? But it is exactly what we need to hear, because our club is in desperate need of a cash injection, a professional, modern approach. And I actually read a little interview earlier on today with Parag Marathi, and he was talking about what he sees Leeds are and what he sees Rangers are, and how they'll be totally separate. And what he actually said was that it's the potential that they see, and they know that when they're with the same as Leeds, it's the same here. There will be a massive cash injection to actually see the club progress really rather quickly. And I think that people, Dave said this, it's going to be a short-term, a long-term process in 4 or 5 windows. And I understand what he's saying, to get the club back to where they actually supposed to be. But for me, if you've got that major injection of cash, then if you're spending it wisely, Stevie, in the summer, there is no doubt in my mind. I can look at us. We won the league by 25 points 3 or 4 years ago. And the next year, they won it by 5 or 6, 4 or 5 points, whatever it was. There's a 30-point swing, and we were by far a better side than them at that turn, at that season, or as the season swapped over. So the gap isn't anywhere near as massive as people always think. It is easy to bridge this gap, because at the end of the day, we've always said this, Stevie, that if you're better than all the rest in our league, the other 10, then you challenge automatically. That has been our issue this season, is making sure that we have players for the domestic game that can go away from home. I'm saying that we've not won home since February, have we? But you know what I mean. It's these domestic games, mate, that we have to make sure that we have the squad in place to challenge every single week and win every single week. And going by the comments, that David King has said in the interview that I read with Parag Marathi today, I was really impressed with what Marathi had to say. I was really quite excited. And I couldn't even find it to show you. I read it this morning on Google or something like that. And very interesting, that's what we'll say.
just on this question, depends where the 0 million is going, Stevie. As you said, the amount or total package. It's not the total package. Just read what Dave King said there, Curry. This is above and beyond. We spoke about this. So Dave is giving them a figure which they need to buy the club, and then he's giving them a figure after that, which is what they need to spend. The figure that Dave mentioned in mid-September to catch competition was £50 million. That's documented. Dave thinks we need 50 million. So we were speculating a wee bit and saying, if it costs X, Y, Z to buy the club, as Dave then said, we need a further 50 million because he's told them above and beyond, which they proved. So that's what we're discussing. Dave talks a wee bit more. He doesn't say too much more else, Kenny, I think, in terms of, he talks a wee bit about that he's helped kind of shape the deal in terms of getting enough percentage-wise that the new owners would need. And then from there, doing a mass share issue. And again, credit to Chris Jack, and I've spoken about this already, I'll say it again about Chris. Chris has documented all that. This is here on the letter in the Rangers Review and Chris's stuff. Chris on this show a couple of weeks ago was guested on here and told us that this exact thing. Shareholders will sell percentages. Some of them will sell all of it. King and John Bennett being one or two of them that will sell all. And then they will bulk up from everybody else who will sell 3-4% here, there, and everywhere. And then we'll get a share issue. That share issue puts money straight into the club's coffers. That share issue will be dependent on exactly how much Rangers need at that time. So that is, Chris has always reported that. Dave King spoke about that today, Kenny. That'll be money straight into the football club, which is vital as well. Yeah,
and exactly that. It's the share issue is probably going to be really vital because it will get them above the 51%, which is above the 50%, which is what they're looking for, and that is an instant injection of cash that will, going by what Chris has basically said, is if I'm reading him right, will go straight into the first team squad, which is absolutely required. The rest of the money that they're going to bring to the football club will be for infrastructural issues and stuff like that. But I'm really excited. I must admit now, Chris has been absolutely nailed on with this, as we've already said. But when Dave King comes out and reiterates everything that Chris has said, and I would urge anybody, to go back and watch you and Chris on here a couple of weeks ago, because if you actually think back, Stevie, everything that Chris said there is probably almost like everything that Dave King said today. And my only gripe with Chris is that he comes on this show and blasts everybody else out the water, mate. With the numbers he gets, he's the most listenable guy. I said it to you, and brilliant. He's a brilliant guy to sit and listen to, and a brilliant guy to sit and read as well. But he's been absolutely spot on. It's the only thing I can say that as I said, I'll reiterate that again. Watching Dave King today was almost like listening to what Chris Jack said a fortnight ago, and he's just telling you as it is.
Thank you, Neil. Really, really high praise. Much appreciated that. The only thing I've ever tried to do on fan media, and what Kenny and I try and do, is be accurate in what we're telling you. And I trust Chris enough that we've been able to be guided by him on this takeover and give you a proper timeline, not speculate, give you proper situation of where it is. A lot of people a couple of weeks ago saying it was going to be done by weekend and stuff. I had to say that's not the case. Let's take our time. And it all comes from Chris. Chris is really close and really good at this. So that is Dave King's interview from today. If anybody's got any questions or that, please get them in. Kenny and I will hang about for another 10 minutes. Thank you again to Fall Victim, who's became a YouTube member. That's 3 YouTube members today signed up. Really appreciate it. Everyone that does it. That would take us on 115, which is incredible considering we only got this kind of up and running a couple of weeks ago. So we're really enjoying it. I do promise we've got some interviews with some ex-players that are really good. They're coming up. Just it's difficult to tie them down because sometimes they're not available and things like that. We are making the documentary video for Helicopter Sunday. We're interviewing a couple of ex-players who were in amongst that squad that year tomorrow, actually, so that should be good fun. These things will be coming, and they'll be available to members first before they go live to everybody else. So just as a wee thank you, you'll get to see extended interviews and things as well. So got a lot of stuff planned, and we really appreciate that. A couple of comments as well. Long-time member, Bluebells are blue. Can only take King at his word, but I felt he answered a lot of questions that were maybe a slight concern today. His outlook on the Leeds equation was quite interesting and a different spin as well. I haven't really touched on that, Kenny, at all, because he said that he spoke a wee bit about Leeds. He didn't see it being an issue because Leeds, they have to stabilise because they've got potential to become a yo-yo club as well. So he answered that really well, but that was interesting. I'm not concerned about Leeds in the slightest. Leeds will stand alone and do that. And I don't care if we're selling players, like if Nico Raskin or Hamza Gaman wants to move on to the Premiership or whatever, and if they're sniffing about or they get first dibs, I don't care in the slightest. That doesn't bother me. As long as Rangers get the best deal for Rangers, they can sell them to whoever they want, if that's the case at the time. So that sort of thing really doesn't bother me. If Leeds have an up-and-coming winger that they want to send up here, I don't care about that either. What was so different to that than when Steven Gerrard was in charge and we got Ryan Kent from Liverpool? We weren't a feeder club to Liverpool, but it was the same connection. We wouldn't have got him if it wasn't for Gerrard. Who's to say we wouldn't get another up-and-coming one from Leeds? That's not going to bother me. Anyone that's better than what we have and does better on the pitch doesn't bother me in the slightest. So I don't see Leeds, and I've got great respect for Leeds' brilliant fan base. Rangers will play them before the start of next season. You can put your money on that, folks. Stevie told you that. Remember that. But Rangers will play Leeds at some point. That is a certainty. And I just don't, Kenny, they're not an issue to me. Not an issue to me in the slightest.
No, I don't understand people that think that. That's the joke that's coming from across the city. I would suggest to you that you're going to be a feeder club. We are not going to be any feeder club. And Dave King's comments today were actually quite interesting because he put a slightly different slant on it when he explained that, the 49ers have a real kind of financial decision to make about Leeds, because we all respect to Leeds being that little bit of a yo-yo club in the last few years, and prior to that, they went through financial hard times the same as we did because Peter Ridsdale, wasn't it? And they've suffered for it for years and years, Stevie, and they've been in the lower leagues, they've been in the Championship for a long, long time, and they do have that difference in England where, your Man Cities, your Man Uniteds, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your Chelseas are even your Aston Villas and your Spurs and clubs like that. Those top 7, top 8 clubs have just got loads and loads of money, and they've racked it up over the years. They've got, the TV money, they've got commercial deals that are just coining it in, and the investment required. Now, I remember, if you remember, don't want a guy I particularly want to talk about, but if you remember this, that Mike Ashley suggested this somewhere about 10 years ago with Newcastle, that he reckoned that he would have to spend about £1 billion to get to Champions League football. That's what he reckoned. That was 10 years ago, Stevie. They would have to invest about that amount of money over a period of 4 years, 5 years. So do Leeds have the capacity to do that? Yeah, possibly, but the time scale to do something like that is, you do get the exceptions. You see Nottingham Forest, they're going to qualify for Europe this year, and I think they already have, actually, and that's been 2-3 years that they come up, and fair play to them for doing that. And Leeds are the type of club that could do that, but if you look at the investment in Nottingham Forest, it's been astronomical. They've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds to do it. So there is a dilemma there. And what I felt when he was talking about us is that it's a 2-team league. It's a situation where you're guaranteed, pretty much guaranteed European. Well, you are guaranteed European football, barring an absolute catastrophe. And the profile that comes with that is what they're looking at. And what Dave King was pointing out is that profile instantly allows more than, with all respect, what Leeds can give them. So it cuts both ways. And I'm with you. If they want to go and spend £30 million on Nico Raskin and be the club that has the first right to refusal on our players, I have no issue with that whatsoever. And I know people might understand that people go, no, I don't want that to happen. We're bigger than Leeds. Well, we are bigger than Leeds.
Mate, I need to tell you about this.
There you go.
I need to tell you about this. I'm delighted, by the way. There's 2,500 people who are watching that are going to hear this story. So I had the kids for a couple of days away, as you know, and driving up, stopped at Gretna to get them just a toilet break and a wee bite to eat and all that. And this nice guy spoke to me in the services, just a quick hello, Stevie, how are you? Hiya, mate, how are you? And then it was driving out, and as we were driving up, boys shout at me, Stevie, you got something on your roof. One of the wee guys had left their box of chicken on the roof of the car, so I had to get out, get the chicken in, much to my embarrassment, but it was really good of Richard. And I said in the car, I said 100%, I'm going to take a wee photo of this just so I can show the kids as well. 100%, I said to the kids, that'll make it onto Four Lads somehow. Richard, good afternoon, mate. It was nice to meet you. And yeah, thanks for kind of saving my embarrassment. That would have been a nightmare, Kenny, if I'd been driving and that had happened. So, right, let's get into a few questions. Good friend of the show and show member, Jeeb. Jeeb, mate, hope you're well. What do you make of the no connections with Rangers comment regarding the new manager? Chris, in his article, told us that the other day. No connection is interesting. So that rules out Barry Ferguson. It rules out Steven Gerrard. It rules out Kevin Muscat. It rules out Russell Martin. Hey. So it rules out quite a few in there, Kenny. But that's interesting. All of a sudden, guys like I think Ralph Hasselhutton, the old Southampton boss, he's started to go up in the interesting to see where this is going to go. Any thoughts on that, Kenny?
Yeah, and you know, likes of Marco Rose and Hasenhüttl, whoever has got a Red Bull link will shoot right up to be among the bookies' favourites. But no, I'm now at the point where if I'm not a betting man, maybe if somebody gave me a tenner, I would stick it on Marco Rose, just because he's been linked with it. But no, I have no clue who it was going to be. I must admit, I said this on here last week. I think it was that I wouldn't say I was certain, but I was about 60 to 70% that it was going to be Steven Gerrard. I just had that hunch. Well, that looks as if it's not going to be the case. And it will be very interesting because the one thing I did take out of Chris's comment about that is that this now sounds very much, and it ties in with what I was talking about with the Marathi interview that I read today, is that they see this as a long-term project. So with the money that's coming in, Stevie, and the fact that they're turning around and saying, right, we're going to get a guy that's got no connection to Rangers, we're going to implement all these different things around the football club. I can't wait to be a modern football club, Stevie. I've said to you for years that I genuinely feel that us as a football club, we as fans are stuck in the 90s. And while chaos ensued around our football club, football moved on very, very quickly, and we have struggled to catch up with that. And I just have that feeling that with these owners, with new modern managing techniques, we are going to progress very, very swiftly. Who it's going to be, I've got no clue, genuinely.
It's funny because at the turn of the year, I said my wish for the year for Rangers was normality. Rangers have to become a normal football club again. I think that's what we all want. Uncle Dave asks, do you think there's a chance of Steven Gerrard returning? Honestly, as God's honest truth, see before Chris's kind of stuff that he put out, I would have said that Steven Gerrard was my tip for the Rangers job. I just thought he had the right stature, the right name. He knew what was required, etc. So he was my tip. And bear in mind, as I said, I don't have any clue on who this is. I don't have any insight into it at all. If Chris is telling you that it's going to be somebody completely new with no Rangers connection, then and it's a completely new start, then it's not going to be Steven Gerrard. So I think that kind of rules that out. Bluebells are blue also comments on that as well. That Chris's revelation, Kenny, as we've talked about, kind of rules them out. On our question here from Raymond, which I think is quite interesting, we've discussed this. Do you see Leeds coming in for Raskin with a handy fee? I think that we've got a real question with Nico Raskin, and it's well documented. You sell him in the summer if he doesn't want to renew. If he wants to renew, you give him captaincy, you build the squad around him, and I think he's terrific, Nico. Such a really nice guy. Somebody that is brilliant with fan media. You will have seen him do the interview with Four Lads. He came to us straight away, by the way. He came to me straight away on that night. Loves what we do. Really, really great guy. Want him to stay 100%. But the fact of the matter is, if Nico doesn't sign a new contract in the summer, we have to sell him because it's peak value. Could I see Leeds coming in? Yes, I've already spoken about this. I think Leeds will be there and thereabouts for Nico Raskin and Hamza Egerman if that decides the way we're going in the summer. It puts investment straight into the football club as well, Kenny. So we are guessing, could Leeds come in for Raskin for a handy fee for Raymond? I would say yes, it's more than a possibility if that's the route that it goes down. And that's just us. We're guessing. It's not based on anything, but I think it's natural to kind of think that way.
It is natural to think that way, but listen, in answer to Raymond's question, I don't think it'll just be Leeds that'll be coming in for him. To be honest, I think there'll be plenty of suitors, and there'll be plenty keen to get that kind of talent. And I'm one of those guys, Stevie, that reality kicks in sometimes. You know, as you get older as a football fan, and you realise that Rangers are a massive club. But the situation is such that those top 5 leagues now are so lucrative. They're where all players want to play. Ultimately, they want to be in the Premier League, in Serie A, in the Bundesliga, in La Liga. That's where they want to play. And you can't hold a boy's ambitions back. So if he genuinely wants to go, and that's where, as you say, there's a discussion to be had with Nico Raskin, where you turn around and say, do you see yourself here, in 4 years' time? And the answer, if you're being honest, if you're Nico Raskin, will be, no, I don't. I want to go and play at a higher level. So it will then come down to a situation where could you get him to perhaps sign a year's extension or something like that? I don't know. But you're bang on. If the boy has ambitions to go and play elsewhere at the highest level, if you like, then you really do have to turn around and say, well, it's time for you to go now, because he is at peak value, and he is that guy that is our primary asset. I would suggest to you that I know you've said that you start the offers at 15. I would actually be a little higher than that. I would be turning around looking for a minimum of 20. And people might say it's unrealistic. I genuinely don't believe it is. This is a Belgian international. He's 24 years of age. He's nowhere near his prime yet, Stevie. And you don't get Belgian internationals cheap. As I said before, all you need to do is look at the players he's keeping out of that Belgium team and look at the value of them and the cost that players that clubs have paid for them. And you're looking at that kind of value, mate, and that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, he's got 2 years, and if he's not interested in staying long term, you have to move him on.
I'm just going to bring this up because the poor guy, or may even be a girl, one of our YouTube members has posted about 5 or 6 times in the chat that they want Bielsa. Is Bielsa not still at Uruguay? Is he not still the Uruguayan national manager? I can't remember. I don't think it's possible that Bielsa comes to Rangers. One, financially, I think it's out with what we could do and two, I just don't see it from him. That's my thing. No, it's a non-starter for me. Would I be interested in it? It would be as much a carnival, I think, as Jose Mourinho. I don't see that as being. I don't see the new guys putting in somebody that is going to be headlines. I really don't. I see them going kind of safe with their appointment, Kenny. I don't think it'll be. Excuse me. I don't think it'll be anyone that's likely to rock the boat or anything else. Yeah, there we go. So Sonic Boom will say, yep, still Uruguay coach, nearly 70 as well. I mean, if he doesn't speak English, the chances of him answering a question from me as well, Kenny, are really slim. But I don't see this be. I think it'll be a really safe appointment. They'll make somebody that's going to be a steady hand for a good 3-4 years. Possibly that's what they'll be looking at. I don't think they'll gamble with a project. I don't think they'll gamble too much. I think it'll be safe, with the knowledge that whoever comes in as well is going to be there for a period of time and committed to it as well, Kenny. Because this isn't, excuse me, something that Dave said as well. Talking too much. He said that this is a 3-4 window job, a couple of years, and I agree with him completely. We have a lot of deadwood in the squad to clear out first. How good was it, by the way, to hear that Birmingham are talking about 3.5 million for Davies and Dowell? Somebody get them driven down there, or make sure they stay down there pronto. I was delighted to hear that, and I've been speculating about that. If you can get 1.5-2 million for players, everything else, that might be nice. But Kenny, I just going back to my point, I don't see this being a radical appointment by this group. I think it will be somebody safe and somebody that we can kind of rely on. I think that's what I would want. Curry's just asked, what type of manager style would you like to see? Somebody that wins. It's not important to me what style we have. I need somebody that's going to come in and identify. Rangers need physicality, pace. They need a wee bit of excitement in that team. We need to be watching good football. That's the kind of manager I would like to bring in. But I want somebody that's kind of a safe pair of hands. I think, Kenny, somebody that's not flamboyant, somebody that's not going to be making big statements or standing up at press conference, shuggling their legs and all sorts of nonsense. I just want somebody coming in that's going to be right down the middle and nice and calm in his approach to managing Rangers, who will take us slowly but surely, well, actually quicker, but slowly but surely we're back to where we want to be. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. What we need is somebody that can, and with the new kind of setup, with the sporting director and effectively a first team coach is what it's going to be, Stevie. We have a situation where what we need is exactly what you've just said, is a kind of safe pair of hands, somebody that can coach and set up a football team that can go and beat a low block for a start, can challenge in every cup competition. And whether people like it or not, I've seen a couple there and saying they don't want Marco Rosa. Go and look at his resume and see what he's actually done. This man has done incredible things with these teams, and if you give him time, he does very, very well. And all you need to do is look at the fact that he's taken Dortmund to the Champions League, he's taken Borussia Mönchengladbach to the Champions League, he's taken Leipzig to the Champions League, and he's taken Salzburg to the Champions League. This guy is a very successful coach in a league that is almost impossible to win when you look at the scenario over the last 15, 16 years with Bayern Munich and how out of sight they've become over there. So is he capable of building a football team? If you watch his teams, they're brilliant to watch. I've done a little bit of research, and I'm not saying it's going to be him. I'm just saying that, that when you look at it, that is the type of guy that we need, because he's anywhere he's been given a little bit of time. And as you say, he's calm, he's measured, and his teams are very, very effective. They play this incredibly high press. And in my personal point, view, that kind of high press is an absolute essential in our league for us at this minute in time, because with all respect to the other teams in the league, if you can make them make mistakes in their own half with the quality of player that we should be capable of getting with the money that we have coming in, we should have no problem. And that, you're right, it is a safe pair of hands. It's somebody that's going to be, and it's a little bit like the modern game in general now, isn't it? That when you look at it and you think just about every manager has a kind of shelf life of 3, 4, 5 years. And I remember Dick Advocat saying that 25 years ago, 20 years ago now, that no, every manager should be at a club for about 4 years and move on, because players stop listening to you then. And that's where you're absolutely right for me.
Players have stopped listening to our managers after about 4 weeks, never mind 4 years. The only thing I would say is a couple of people have mentioned it as well. Rose has been sacked by quite a few of his last jobs. I'm on the bench, and I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring for anyone in particular. Lewis asks, I've already said this. Do you think new manager will be announced before or after the 49ers? Before. Well before. Mid-June, 49ers, according to Dave King. I think that'll be well before that. That's all I would say on that. Final one, I think, Kenny, because we've been on for 50 minutes. Don't want to bore nearly 3,000 people by the way, listening into us. I don't know why, but thank you very much. We really appreciate it, Kenny and I. Spoke to you at the AC/DC tribute night after Bale said 3 or 4 windows. How sad it is nearly 2 years later and we're talking the same. Yeah, it is. And people have said as well quite a lot that, you know, it's not about what we've spent, it's about how we've spent it. And I agree 100%. We need to, this is where it goes back to something I said before, Kenny, as well. If Rangers in the summer buy only 4 players, but they're 4 really good, strong signings, 4 that will play in our team every single week and 4 that are strong, instead of going what they try and do and what we've tried to do the last 4 or 5 years, which is every summer after Steven Gerrard, they more or less sign 10 players or so and basically try to throw it at a wall and make it stick. Stop doing that. Get quality over quantity. Stop wasting what we have and build, and accept that this is going to take 3-4 years. So, by the way, we need almost every single position. Figure out your key ones: central defence, winger. You know, it might be that they say, look, our forward line, Dessers, Danilo, Eagleman is fine for now because there's other areas. And we as a support need to be big enough to accept that we, you know, if it brought me 4 quality players that I could rely on instead of 12, that 6 were a total miss, I would rather we done the 4 and really quality signings, because they'll bring everybody else up. Automatically, Kenny, it would take the others out of equation in the league because it would make us better than them instantly. And that's where I am with it. I would rather we do that. And I would much rather, if we could sign 4 £5 million players like that, I would be delighted, because there's your backbone of your team, your spine of your team, that kind of thing. And that's what I would rather do instead of signing a dozen players and watching them not working.
Well, it kind of hints back to what we've been talking about, where whether people like it or not, and I know I've said it myself, that we kind of want this squad emptied as quickly as possible. It's not going to happen. You can't get rid of all of them. So whoever the new manager is going to be, along with the sporting director, are going to have to take a look at this squad. And I can't remember exactly what it is, but say there's a squad of 30, the chances are you're going to have to keep 15 of them anyway. I know there's quite a number out of contract and people wanting, you know, the likes of Davis and Kieran Dow, you know, obviously going. But there's boys like Rabbi Matondo here that we need to be reasonable, being realistic about it. We really do have to get him out the door one way or another, because he's been here for long enough to prove that he's capable. And to me, he's one that you can't keep. But therefore, it means that you can only get rid of so many. And I'm like you. I'm with you, and it's what Souness did way back, if you remember, was build the spine side. You start at the back, you work your way forward right through the spine, and you get a team that is on a spine that's capable of playing 40, 50 games a season, 60 games a season, and that's where you build your team. And if it means that, as you say, I just feel a lot of the time, Stevie, that the markets that we've been buying in have been a nonsense. Giving players, huge wages, guys that you're paying £3 million for, £2.5 million. If you're buying in that market, Stevie, it's a hit or a miss. It's not. You're never going to guarantee any kind of success. Nowadays in football, it's a simple fact. If you're getting, you look at even across the city, the big boy Ida was a £10 million player. He's not a great player. So it's where you go to get your players, Stevie. Because if you're buying in the Championship, that's a hugely inflated market to buy from. But if you're being realistic about the big lad, he's a £2 or £3 million player top. And I'm not disrespecting the guy. It's just that you're looking at it going, you can't be paying £10 million for something like that. But no, no.
Just let's nip that in the bud right here now. Is there any truth to Gilmore rumours? No, there's not. And I'm going to visit him in Naples in a couple of months. So he bloody well better not be going anywhere, because Naples is lovely.
And ruin your holiday.
And by the way, see if that's true, he can buy the dinners while I'm out there. That's for sure. Carry on, Kenny.
No, I've kind of finished it, Stevie. I was just basically saying that I'm agreeing with you in terms of if you're going. I think we need more than 4. If you're saying 4, I think we need a bit more than that. I actually think we need 6 minimum guaranteed starters.
I agree with you, but what I was trying to say was, see, instead of us making the same mistakes as previous years when we sign like dozen or so and everything else, and let's just put all the projects to the side and everything else, because, by the way, they will pick up a few Bosmans here and there. I get that. Give me 4. If you give me 5 or 6, brilliant. But give me 4 quality players, right? And I'm going to harp back onto something. I don't like really talking about them. But see, when they were trying to catch us way back in my heyday under Tommy Burns and everything else, they bought Tom, Cadet, Van Hooijdonk. They bought these guys, right? And it made them from absolute nonsense to where we are. Look at Gerrard when he first came in. He signed, or even Advocat, when you talk about Advocat getting the players that he brought in, your Gios, your Newmans, etc. Give me starters, Kenny. I don't want squad players. I don't want anything else like that. I will bring up this one as well, because our new member has asked a question about Jordan Thompson as a squad player. Bosman's thoughts. Jordan Thompson is quite a good player, Northern Ireland international, if I remember rightly. I want to say previously of this parish. Could we pick up guys like that? We certainly could. But I want 6 starters in there, no question. 4 to 6. 4, 5, £6 million players. I don't know if that's realistic. On previous budgets, we maybe had 15 million or so to spend. Could we bring in some? Could everything else? You know what I mean? Could these things all fall apart? Give me quality. You can give me a few freebies and things like that to replace your outgoing Davises and everything else. But see, when you do that as well, stop giving them 5 bloody year contracts and all that. Be sensible about what we're doing. Give me quality for the spine of that team, and you'll ultimately make us better straight away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's why I was agreeing with you, is that we have a squad, and we've had a squad full of squad players for about 3 years solid now, and that is exactly where Shankland on a freebie for me is an absolute yes. But that's a squad player. That's, for me, is not a first team starter every single week, not by any stretch, but that's what we need to get through. And it's where what we've done traditionally, Stevie. You're not quite as old as me, but you're getting on a bit, and you're fully aware that good Rangers teams are built over a process. There is a time and a process to it where you would go and buy, in relative terms I'm talking about, but if you're going to be going by, say, as you say, in the summer, you're going to go and buy 4 or 5, £6 million players, kind of talking sake, then they should be here for 3 or 4 years. And next year, you go and do the same, but you don't need to spend quite so much because your first team squad's almost there. But you can start to add 3 or 4, 5, 6 million pound players. And that's what, with all respect to us, that's what we've not been doing. And you've got to be fair to the team across the city. It's exactly what they have been doing. And that's why we're struggling to catch them, because each and every summer, we are almost starting from scratch because we're buying too many squad players and not enough first team guaranteed starters. And that's what we really do need to get. And that's why, as I say, I'm in total agreement with you on it, that we need a spine that is absolutely nailed on to be better than everybody else in the league, perhaps with the exception of Celtic. But they've got to be better than Celtic players if we want to win the league, if you know what I mean. That's what we need to get to. And it doesn't come cheap, Stevie. We're still talking about this takeover. That's why we're on. But at the same time, Stevie, we are in that situation where the 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh need to be under no illusions. That's the kind of level investment that we do need.
Jimbo says every summer is a crap shoot for us. Coppin needs to get this summer bang on. I don't think Niels Coppin will be in charge of this summer or anywhere near it. Niels Coppin, I would suggest, is now answerable to Kevin Thirlwell, who will be doing all the running with us, and he will be the one that will oversee. I'm not surprised. I said this before. Anyway, I'll finally say it just before we go. I'm not surprised we're getting links to guys that he knows to run our academy and all that. I think that will definitely happen. I'll be surprised if there isn't more movement surrounding that. That's for sure. But anyway, right. Listen, I think we'll end it there. We've been on for over an hour. There is 3,100 people watching this. If you could all do us a little favour, please like and subscribe to the pod on YouTube. That's a magic help to all of us. We are growing at quite a rate. The amount of people that tune in and respond, and the amount of people that have signed up to our memberships and things like that, we absolutely love. So we appreciate it. Huge thank you to everyone this afternoon that's joined in. Thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athlone Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning. Really, really appreciate you all joining in. Kenny, thank you, mate. It's been a good chat. An hour. Jeez, we can blather, can't we?
Really good wee pod. That enjoyed it. Good questions as well. And I'm just sorry I kept you another hour, mate. I'm just getting you back for last week. You wanted to go at 2, had to say 3. And as I say, just getting you back for last week for going out for lunch, mate.
What can we say? Right, okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, that's for sure. As I said, please like and subscribe on YouTube. That really helps us grow. You know where we are on social media. If you're following us, please let us know. It's going to be an interesting summer, that's for sure. And yeah, thanks again to all our sponsors, all those guys, Jim, Carlo, everybody will all be staying on with us at Four Lads next year. So the support they give us is absolutely brilliant, and I can't thank them enough. But what I do want to do is thank all you guys again for joining us. Kenny, thanks very much, mate. Enjoy your evening. Arsenal versus, probably quickly before I go, I'll just say this, Arsenal PSG tonight should be good. I missed that game last night. You know I missed it. And I missed it last week because I was covering the women's game for this channel, and it was an unbelievable game. And I missed it last night because I was bobbing about somewhere in the middle of the North Sea coming back from a trip. Honestly, unbelievable game of football I heard.
It really was, mate. And I've thoroughly enjoyed winding you up about it, because you've missed both of them. And I genuinely mean that. I stuck it up on the chat. I think it might be the best two-legged tie, European tie, I think I've ever watched. The standard was just incredible. And I mean, incredible in both games. And a shame that one team had to lose, but it's good that the right team won. That's all I'll say.
Good luck to Arsenal and Mikel Arteta tonight. I really do want them to do well. I'm not an Arsenal fan by any means, but I really would like to see Mikel Arteta do it. I think it's going to be a tough tie, but I wish them all the luck, and I really hope they go and do it. Arsenal versus Inter, PSG versus Inter, it's sure to be a good game, that's for sure. Anyway, definitely away this time, folks. Thanks for joining us. Over 3,000 views, unbelievable. Really appreciate it. Thanks again to all our new members. And here's another one just before we go, Craig Rist. Thank you so much, mate. We appreciate your support. Unbelievable. I think there's been 10 new members today for the show alone, and that's brilliant. The more members we get, the more stuff we'll do, and the more we'll keep trying to give you what you want as well. Remember, in the comments, you got any particular shows you want us to do? If you want us to do Q&As, that kind of thing, let us know, and we'll try and do it. We're looking for ideas, so if you've got them, then we'll certainly do it. But thanks, folks. I promise you, for about the 10th time, it's definitely us away now. Thank you very much.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.